Welcome back. In today's lab, we're going to investigate double displacement ionic reactions. The two main objectives we have for this lab is to learn how to write balanced equations and to study what occurs when you combine different sets of ions together. Now in this lab you're going to be using a number of different chemicals. Now again, I want to stress with safety that make sure you are wearing your goggles at all times, and especially with this lab, make sure you have no food or drink around. Some of these chemicals contain metals, and you are again using a very strong base in this lab, sodium hydroxide, which can cause burns and other types of irritation if exposed to your skin or ingested. So again, please make sure you have a very clean and open area to complete this lab. A few notes about this lab. One, it may be a good idea to use the 24 well plate that you used in the chemical and physical properties lab as sort of a chemical holder. Each of the chemicals that you'll need in today's lab are found in your lab pack in the bag called Ionic Reactions, and all the chemicals are found in small sealed pipettes. And similar to the lab investigating chemical and physical properties, to open up these pipettes, you want to just clip off with the scissors the very tip of the pipette. Now in this lab, what you're going to do is utilize the 96 well plate, and on page 80 of your lab handout, it specifies that in row A you're going to put a couple drops, 2 drops of cobalt nitrate solution in 7 of the rows. So you don't need to put them in all the rows, all 15, or sorry 12, but just 7 of them. And then in the B wells you're going to put copper nitrate. In the C wells, iron nitrate. The D wells, barium nitrate. And in the E wells, nickel nitrate. Now, before you go on to part 2, where it instructs you to put different chemicals in the different vertical wells going down, I would make a little table in your lab notebook, and I would make initial observations of all the wells before you start the next step. You'll notice that some of these chemicals have certain colors to them. The copper nitrate has a bluish color to it. The iron nitrate has sort of a yellowish orangish color to it. In this lab, observation is going to be very important. Once you start adding chemicals, you're going to see a couple of possible reactions take place. One, you may see precipitation occur. When a precipitation occurs, you will either see a very cloudy substance in the well, or you might just completely see a solid chunk of crystal or other material in the well. You may also see the formation of a gas, and when a gas forms, you'll see small bubbles appear in the well. The third thing that you may see is a color change, and this is why it's very important to note what the original color is in each of the wells, because you may see a particular chemical go from, say, a blue color to a red color, and you don't want to miss these changes. The lab manual tells you to add chemicals into all of the well plates, but it doesn't tell you to perhaps observe as you add each chemical one by one. So again, after adding the 5 or 6 different chemicals in the well plates going across, the very first part of step 2 says to place 2 drops of sodium phosphate in the 5 vertical wells under number 1. When you add the sodium phosphate to the cell 1A, I would pause, look for any kind of change, and then record that change in your lab book before going on to the next well. If you add the chemicals all at once and then go to look at chemical changes, you may have missed the formation of a precipitant, formation of a gas, or a color change. So definitely make sure you take your time in this lab. Another important thing to note is that in some cases it may take a little bit of time for a reaction to occur. So it wouldn't hurt after you have added all of the chemicals to let it sit for a couple minutes and to come back and look and see if anything has changed after a few moments. In general, after 10-15 minutes, it's pretty safe to say that any change or any reaction that's going to occur has occurred. Another thing to note is make sure you write out all the chemical reactions that you perform in this lab. So again, in cell A1 you have cobalt nitrate and you're reacting it with sodium phosphate. Write these out in your lab book as chemical formulas, and I will be providing on the Moodle page a small lecture video to assist you with writing the chemical equations and the chemical reactions. But you want to make sure you write out all the chemical reactions that you performed, as this will help you organize your notes for your lab report for this lab. Finally, one final observation after looking through the lab handout is you may want to sort of stir the chemicals in each of the well plates to see if there is the formation of a precipitate, or just to sort of facilitate the actual reaction. Be very careful, make sure you do not use the tip of the pipettes to do this. I would take perhaps a small toothpick to sort of stir each one of the plates, and definitely make sure you use a fresh toothpick for each of the wells. If you dip a toothpick in multiple wells, you may add small amounts of different chemicals into each of the wells, and instead of adding 2 chemicals, you may actually be adding 3 or 4 chemicals into a particular well, and this could confound and throw off your observations and your final results. A few notes about cleanup. When you're done with this lab, any remaining chemical can be poured down the drain, and the empty pipettes can be thrown out in the trash. Additionally, be very careful and thorough with rinsing out your well plate. You may need to use a small Q-tip to rinse out each of the wells to make sure that you get any kind of solid material out. You will be using this well plate in future labs, so please take some time and make sure you carefully clean it out by rinsing it with water, and again using a small Q-tip to clean out each of the individual wells. With that, you should be ready to complete this lab. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, good luck and be safe.